Okay, hello, my name is George Benavides, and I'm a targeted veteran. I've been held hostage by the United States federal government and its spy agencies, used as a non-consensual test subject, attacked and tortured, spied on for 32 years. For 32 years I've been spied on. All the 9/11 conspiracies, all the stuff that we're hearing now, the floods and HARP, are all part of this crime that's been going on. They were trying to microchip thousands of Americans. They began with me in the military in 1993. They covered it up. It's an act of espionage, treason, and torture. And now here we are. We have a bunch of presidents who have dodged this for years and years. And you're going to see the facts. I'm going to present you the facts that the United States Department of Veterans Affairs have neglected to investigate and inspect the torture and targeting and spying of Americans and veterans. The VA has a duty to investigate a case when the veteran comes to the Department of Veterans Affairs. You don't just neglect the veteran. You got to strictly investigate. And just like anybody else would gather their conclusion, I've done that, okay? And like I said, this is my library, the National Library for Targeted Individuals. Any federal judge, any law enforcement official, any lawyer is going to gather the evidence that beyond a reasonable doubt or the burden of proof that veterans have been targeted and tortured by a silent war for 72 fucking years. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Thank you, President Trump, for that speech. This is all we have. All we have is fighting words. Fighting words is all we have. While the Department of Homeland Security has not yet come to a conclusion on who the adversary. I can tell you who the adversary is. The foreign adversary is the goddamn fusion centers that you have in every goddamn state, from state to state. That's your adversary. Why is that your adversary? Well, they're in violation of separation of powers. They're in violation of Geneva Convention Code. They're in violation of the Nuremberg Code. They're in violation of the UN laws, treaties, and policies. And they're spying illegally, tracking and torturing Americans. Operated by the CIA, FBI, infrared structure, private corporations. That is your adversary. Causing false medical symptoms to commit fraud against Department of Veterans Affairs, against the Social Security Administration, and you're not opening your damn eyes. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. This is dedicated for Leonard Kyle, who was killed by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. They wrongfully microchipped him, wrongfully diagnosed him, and they killed him. All the veterans are going to the VA and they're calling you schizophrenic or crazy. They're calling you crazy. This war has been going on for 72 years. We are all test subjects. We're lab rats in our fucking home because we have coups in our neighborhoods that the law enforcement officials won't investigate. If a veteran like me with no college degree can collect the evidence and put a goddamn library together, so can a judge, so can a lawyer, and so can a law enforcement official. Doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist. Welcome to the National Library for Targeted Individuals. My name is George Benavides, and I am a disabled veteran with schizophrenia. I've been wrongfully diagnosed, wrongfully medicated, given poison by the VA to cover up their act of espionage. The VA's neglected Americans for over 72 years, folks. All they've done is paid whistleblowers millions of dollars. That's all the VA's done. That's all the government's done. Paid whistleblowers millions of dollars. Stolen taxpayers' money. It's a big cover-up for 72 years. Deja vu of the Moscow signal. Havana syndrome is not a fucking disease. It's an act of damn war. So this is done in memory of Leonard Kyle. And like I said, I operate the National Library for Targeted Individuals. I've been to the U.S. Supreme Court. I've been to the federal courts. They're all covering this up for 72 damn years because they're all invested in a goddamn technology. If you look at your retirement portfolio, they're invested in Raytheon Corporation, Boeing, Lockheed, Metaverse, all the algorithm stocks, all the AI stocks, Samsung, Apple, AI, AT&T. They're all in part of that bullshit. inciting war, inside trading against the goddamn American people, making a profit off this genocide war for 72 fucking years. This is a library. This is the library that I created with my own money, collected data for 32 years because no one believed my ass. I've been to the U.S. Supreme Court. I've been there. Spent a lot of money on this fucking case. My life is based on a fucking true story. You got my family involved in this bullshit, you coerce them in this bullshit, and you slowly kill them and killing them and targeting them. You're making me look like I'm a goddamn Hatfields and McCoy. Hatfields and McCoys. What the fuck is this? This is what I got for joining the goddamn military? Give me a fucking break, people. It's all about microchipping your ass, your kid, and your children. Or microchipping you and your children. That's what it's about. This war is about microchipping. They're trying to take population control. Total control. It's about microchipping people. The mark of the beast is here. It's here. Oh, boy. Let's start off. I'm going to show you a consistency of negligence throughout the years. From president to president, from senators to senators, it's a neglect to protect the lives and welfare of the American people. If it wasn't for RFK, they would be in our schoolyards targeting, undressing your children with virtual fucking war. Thank you, Mr. RFK. You can look at that court case, CHD versus the FCC. It's a virtual reality of war they're trying to create. I operate the National Library for Targeted Individuals. Even though I got schizophrenic, I operate it. I own it. I published it. Okay, it's out there. I have up to 32,000 documents. 32,000 documents, evidence, right here. Over 32,243 documents, evidence that Americans are being targeted and tortured. That federal officials are being targeted and tortured. That veterans are being targeted and tortured. Okay? Now for the negligence. Now for the negligence. It's negligence. It's negligence with malice, with the intent to kill American people. It's negligence with malice, with the intent to incite war, with the intent to continue on with the war, with the intent to kill American peoples at the access of criminals who roam our streets, who live in our neighborhoods, and they're gone the next day after they kill a veteran or a federal official. They're gone. It's a coup. Now for your timeline on the negligence. Here we go. You can't make this up. Here we go. Don't be pissed off, man. You're even attacking President Trump. You've attacked several presidents. Richard Nixon, Kamala Harris. The list goes on. Representative Johnson from Wisconsin. Representative Johnson from Wisconsin. Sound like a rap song. Representing Johnson from Wisconsin. You'll see all that. You're going to see all that. I'm not making shit up. You got me fucking hostage. What the fuck am I going to do? You've asked me to make this public. You've asked me to hit back hard. I'm hitting back hard. With the facts. I'm hitting back hard with the facts because that's what you asked me to do. To hit back hard, to protest this. That's all we have for self-defense. If the shoe fucking wears, if the shoe fits, wear that son of a bitch. Because you're only in your office for 4 years and you're getting the fuck out of there. You're gone. You better start writing some laws because I know you're a lawyer, a doctor, a scientist, and if you don't pass a law to protect the American people and protect veterans, you will suffer. Because that veteran is going to walk into your office one day and ask to be represented. And you as a doctor or lawyer are going to neglect that because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You passed that throughout the years when you should have passed the goddamn law. So you will suffer. You're only there for 4 years in your office. Do something, because when you get out and go back into the real world as a lawyer, or doctor, or scientist, you're going to need some law. You're going to need some care for your victims. You don't realize that shit, man. You don't put the ball in play. You punt it off from president to president. It's a punt off. Or you have a secret society killing and targeting Americans in a form of fucking genocide. Look at this shit. This got this fucking AI all over my ass. What the fuck, man? This is a fucking defective product. It's killing Americans. It should not be on the fucking market. It is here to kill Americans. It's defective. It's in violation of our 4th and 5th Amendment rights. You don't have the right to search my fucking information or any other kid or any person. What the hell is wrong with you guys? Have you become communistic? Communism? Tyranny? Oh, yeah, it's all right, man. Fuck it. Go ahead and unleash the AI, man. I'm only here for 4 years as a congressman or senator. I'm only here for 4 years. Unleash it. And then when you get out in the public, to go in your office, you don't know how to defend yourself or how to defend Americans. You really fucked yourself. I mean, really good. So, deja vu. Havana syndrome is deja vu.
In 1953, the Russians began to bombard the U.S. Embassy in Moscow with electromagnetic radiation in the microwave spectrum, but the fact was kept secret from the embassy employees. U.S. Ambassador Stossel contracted a blood disease, bleeding eyes, nausea, and eventually lymphoma. He and other employees eventually died as a result of the microwave attacks. Dr. Henry Kissinger sent a secret memo giving hazard pay to embassy personnel in the 1970s. Before the attacks, the USSR had met with the U.S. to try to head off an arms race in electromagnetic weapons, but were refused. In retaliation, they began microwaving the U.S. Embassy. It is possible that the U.S. government took advantage of the situation and used the embassy staff as microwave guinea pigs. The Department of Defense's Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, set up a lab at Walter Reed Army Institute of Research and participated in Project Pandora. Scientists began zapping monkeys to study the biological effects of highly concentrated microwave frequencies. Similar studies were conducted at the VA hospital in Kansas City.
Similar studies were conducted at the VA hospital in Kansas City, Missouri. Similar studies were done. And they gave out hazardous pay. People were dying. Diplomats' families were dying. The families were dying. The families were being targeted. The article reads, deja vu. Before Havana syndrome, there was the Moscow signal. Deja vu. Can you say deja vu? It's deja vu. So they're repairing. They were paid. This is presidential evidence. It's presidential evidence right here. This is a memo stating that the federal government had an agency called the Bureau of Employees Compensation Division, where they paid out compensation for people that were suffering. Where did that bureau go? Where are those documents? What about the court cases? What about the lawsuits filed? What about the deaths of diplomats' wives? Read the document. What are you hiding? Read it. I didn't make it up. That's a memo. That's an official memo. That's top secret. Been declassified. Read it together. Let's read it together. Let me see. Let's look at the next page. What's the next page? Read the next page. Here's the next page. Read it. Let's go back and read it. As you are aware, an employee who served in the Moscow during the period of 1960 to 62 filed a claim with the Bureau of Employees Compensation, contending that the signal was responsible for the development of cancer by his wife. The employee's wife died. She died. Read the article right there. The wife died some months ago. But you're holding back from the media from publicizing that. You're holding it back. Why? Because you can give me a radiation treatment, right? You were trying to hold it back. Sure you did. Sure you did. You tried to hold it back. You're trying to hold back information. Read the article. That's declassified. Read that. Declassified records detail diplomatic efforts to end microwave radiation directed at the Moscow signal or the Moscow embassy. Kissinger to Dobrynin, we are trying to keep the thing quiet. You could give me a radiation treatment. We're trying to keep it quiet. Quiet! Because I can make money off that fucking machine. I can cause workman's compensation. I can get life insurance on my wife and collect the millions while she dies. How fucking corrupt is that bullshit? And you still kick the can down the fucking road. Year after year after year. And here we are now. Here we are now abandoning bills. We're abandoning bills for Havana syndrome. We are. Karma, what comes around, goes around, right? It's a racket. It's a fucking RICO. So, like I said, it's repeated itself. I mean, you're trying to cover it up because it's a good thing. It's a good feeling that you watch people suffer. When you're watching people with the big clouds and your satellites and drones and fusion centers, that you enjoy the pain and suffering of American people at your eyes, knowing you're in violation of the Nuremberg Code, knowing that you're in violation of the United States, at the United Nations laws, policies, and treaties. You sit there with your own eyes and attack your own people that you swore to protect under the Constitution. So help me God. Sedition? Maybe sedition? If you're in the military and you are watching a big picture and you're attacking Americans, driving on roadways, in hospitals, in their homes, that is sedition. Okay, it's a war crime. Okay? When you admit that, because those records are going to be unsealed, I guarantee you, when they tear an asshole in the fusion centers, you will have those records. Because they're watching something, and it's costing the taxpayers money. Those videos will be divulged. And once you admit you're spying on Americans, you are done. Because each and individual every American deserves a what? Deserves a warrant? Deserves the right to a Miranda warning that you're spying and tracking and searching? They don't have that. They don't have a Miranda warning for every American. They don't have what? A warrant for every single American that's spying on, so help me God. Because the purpose of the Fusion Center is to spy on foreigners. FISA stands for foreigners. We are not foreigners. We are American veterans. We are veterans. Americans. And you are in violation of those codes, my friend. I mean, yet it's simple fact. It's gonna be divulged. Nothing is hidden. Okay? Once they admit they've been spying on people, you're done. Okay? Those fusion centers have to report something. What have they been watching? What have you been watching for over 32 years? What have you been watching at the fusion centers? Huh? Come on. You're working for the taxpayer. We deserve those records. What have you been watching for 32 years? Huh? What have you been watching and surveilling for 32 years that these things have been open? Since 9/11. What have you been watching? That's public record. That has to come forward. Those records, those recordings, whatever you're watching in that building has to come forward. It's in the interest of the taxpayer. Seems like a racket to me. It's a racket. And that's why, you know what? You know what's funny? Kicking the can down the road. Well, the Oregon Fusion Center is still idling. The Oregon Fusion Center lawsuit is still idling. It's still idling. It's still idling. Okay? The Oregon Fusion Center is still idling. And then the lower courts didn't want to take the case. They kicked the can down to the appeals court. Hey, go see the appeal. Go see the appeals court. Go see the appeals court. Well, it's going to cost me some money. It's going to cost me some money. You want me to appeal? You want me to appeal the court case? Okay, I'll go spend some more money. You're not spending enough money yet. Okay, then you take it to the Supreme Court after that. And then you got people just bombarding that whole fucking court case with amicus, right? I mean, this case it's obvious, folks. Separation of power. Separation of power. Say separation of power. Say separation of power. You have to say that over and over again. It's in violation of separation and power. You have federal law enforcement, state law enforcement, military, and private contractors attacking and spying on Americans. So help me God. You are criminals. Admit that. It will come forward. You will release the files. I guarantee that. It's in the interest of the taxpayer. They pay your salary to investigate crimes, war crimes, test subjects. Or maybe not. They cover it up, maybe. Let's continue on with the history of the silent weapon. Like I said, it's negligence per se. It's negligence with malice. Malice. Now that we've gone to the Moscow, let's go in. I mean, this is funny, but I got to be funny. I mean, I've already exhausted my efforts. I've been to the U.S. Supreme Court. So we had the Moscow signal, and then came in a lawyer. Then came in a lawyer into office, / President, Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton did extensive investigation. And made promises to the American people. Bill Clinton was smart. He was a lawyer, and lawyers are smart. They're investigators. They gather the evidence. They look in the future. They look in the past. Say, well, goddamn. I mean, why wasn't there no protection from the Moscow signal? What else do we have on file? Let's go look. And then they went to look, and they submitted FOIAs to the federal agencies like an American does, like a lawyer does. They submitted FOIAs requests and found out that yes, there was something going on. Let me go back to that, okay? Let me go back to that. We're gonna keep on this timeline. I mean, it may sound fucked up, but I didn't twist your arm and listen to my video. That's evidence. So, the presidential Bill Clinton promised the American people that there would be no more test subjects. There would be no more test subjects. No more test subjects. So help me God. No more test subjects.
Protect our fellow citizens. Those who have suffered, we must all, and of their patients, abuse that trust. Patients were used as subjects of experiments without their knowledge or consent. Information was withheld from affected communities and from the public. Secrets were kept to protect the government from embarrassment and legal liability. While the radiation doses in the experiments we studied were usually low, and officials and scientists were often concerned about risk, we do not believe that excuses the wrongs that were done. We urge you to do the right thing by those who have been wronged or harmed by these events. In our report, we recommend for your consideration guidelines for compensating former subjects. But if we are to keep faith with those who have suffered, we must all do more. Your extraordinary efforts have allowed the American people to learn about a piece of our history that we could not otherwise have understood. You have opened the doors of this nation's records, and they must stay open. You have recognized the price of secrecy in research for what it is, a legacy of cynicism and a legacy of distrust. If we are to keep faith with those who have suffered, we must do everything possible to guarantee that what happened to them never happens again. The committee learned that research safeguards have come a long way since the Second World War. Americans can and should feel much more secure about medical research today, but the system remains imperfect. I urge you to carefully review the committee's findings and recommendations. Both the government and research institutions must do all they can to protect our fellow citizens. If this committee's work is to mean anything, it has to be that 50 years from now, there does not have to be another presidential committee charged with investigating allegations of abuses of human subjects. There should never be another such advisory committee. Information
Well,
must not be
well,
concealed again.
and once again, that was Bill Clinton. I'm going to take a break real quick, okay? Hold on just a minute. Just a quick break real quick, because Apple is running down my juice. They're running down my juice. So I got to put some more juice in here. You know, I got to put some more battery power, Okay, let's see here. Oh, okay, here we go. All right. So as time goes on, as we go through time travel and space-based weapons throughout these years, satellites have gotten proficient. They've gotten specific and proficient. Really focusing inside the neural symptoms and brains of Americans throughout the years without our consent. And they've been hijacking our minds, stealing our thoughts, and they want to microchip you for more direct control. We know that already, okay? But it's a pawn off from president to president. And the reason why the federal officials didn't want to pass any laws because they're in the pockets of the tech giants, the tech giants. They're in the pockets of these presidents that have neglected to protect the lives and welfare of the American people for over 72 years. They're in the pockets, line the pockets with these senators and congressmen. Forget the American system. We're trying to cover it up. Okay, you can line my pocket up with some money. Huh? Under the table, man. Woo! God almighty. Who's a lobbyist in that? APAC or ABAC? What the hell's the name of that company? APAC or ABAC? Who's lobbying? Who's lobbyists, these people? Whose pockets are they in? APAC or ABAC? But you know what? Israelis don't have fucking immunity. They don't. They don't have sovereign immunity. They don't. They can't. We're separation of countries. They have their own institution and laws. We have our own constitution and laws. Separation of countries. We don't communicate with countries, okay? With foreign countries to do our business, do our laws. And a marker was what? They got put in their place. They got sit back in their fucking chair. They try to spy on WhatsApp. They try to use WhatsApp to spy on other Americans, and they were shut down by the courts. No, you don't have qualified immunity. You don't have sovereign immunity in the United States. You're just a private company. Go back to Israelis and take care of your people, okay? So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are transpiring, man. You're in the pockets of these criminals that are spying on Americans and our children, killing us here with space-based weapons. So Bill Clinton neglected to protect, again, kicking the can down the road as a lawyer, as a president. Now, by this time, we said, well, shit, if Henry Kissinger's not going to do it, if Bill Clinton's not going to do it, well, let's see who else can come in there. I think I'm going to get, let's see, Dennis Kucinich. Hey, there's a guy with some sense. Dennis Kucinich, the Democrat from Ohio, came into office. Well, let's go back to President Bill Clinton, because they did admit. This is a letter from Ruth Faden, Dr. Faden. Thank you for your service, Dr. Faden. Read her letter. Read it good now. It's from Dr. Faden, right? Read the letter. If you read carefully in the letter, this is from the VA, Department of Veterans Affairs. If you read this line here, it says, nevertheless. Read that line right there. Nevertheless, to the extent that we do find classified radiation records under Executive Order number 12356 or its predecessors that relate back to the periods your staff is interested in, we will contact the appropriate federal agency for declassification of those records. So help me God. The VA admits that. That's from Dr. Faden. Dr. Faden. You can't make that up, folks. Right there. Nevertheless, to the extent that we do find classified radiation records under Executive Order number 12356 or its predecessors that relate back to the period that your staff is interested in, we will contact the appropriate federal agency for declassification of those records. Okay? That was what? 1994. 1994, I was just arriving at the Marine Corps barracks. Didn't know I was going to be implanted, microchipped, and targeted by my government, and even radiated with Havana syndrome. I didn't know that. Okay? It's gone so far. You should give me so far. They all knew about this, man. They all knew this a long time ago. The VA knew a lot about this stuff. Okay? They knew what was going on, but they kicked the can down the road. Kicking the can down to save. So, Clinton was a lawyer, gathered the evidence. Lawyers gather evidence. Okay? And then he pawned it off to the next person. The next person came in who had interest in the case, took up President Bill Clinton, probably was the Honorable Congressman Dennis Kucinich. The Honorable Congressman Dennis Kucinich. And he had a staff. He had a good staff. His staff was very educated. Okay? Dennis Kucinich from Ohio attempted to pass 4 crime bills. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the last attempt, he had 25 signatures. Why didn't this crime bill pass? Why wouldn't you pass a crime bill? Giving the American people equal protection of the law. Why wouldn't you pass a crime bill giving the American people and the veterans equal protection of the law? Who was covering up a federal crime? Who was covering up a federal crime? Who was that person might be? The Committee on Science? The Committee on Armed Forces? Or the Foreign Relations Committee? Who were those people that sat at the round table, blocking these bills 4 times? Can we please stand up and testify right now? Because Americans are dying in the silent war. Americans are dying. All right, we needed some laws. Okay, who blocked that? Can we see those names of those committee members? Please stand up and testify. Please. So they blocked him, and then let's hear about Dennis Kucinich. What is he doing now? He's a good man. He deserves an award. Trying to stop this war. Here we go. The voice of Dennis Kucinich.
I became interested in the Space Preservation Act and in developing the Space Preservation Act when I learned that our administration in Washington was looking at a program called Vision 2020. And Vision 2020 actually is a program for the United States to dominate the world from outer space. Now, I love America, and I'd like to say that we're number one. But let me tell you something. We don't need to be number one in weapons in space. The Department of Defense has been working at a facility in Alaska, which is doing research into effects of electromagnetic frequencies in the ionosphere. And that facility, which is called HARP, has raised concern among many individuals about how this research would be applied. For example, we know that, according to some of the research, as these energy pulses are directed into the ionosphere, they can have somewhat of
Okay, so anyway, Congressman Kucinich was a part of trying to stop. America first, buddy, not your pockets, all right? I mean, you guys would have common sense. Put the fucking law into play. That way, when you get out of office, you can have a job. You get that? I mean, look at the future. When you put the law into fucking play, then you have something to go by. I mean, you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing once again. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Put the goddamn law into play. So when you leave when you leave your 4-year office as a lawyer, as a doctor, or scientist, you have something to go back to. Otherwise, there's nothing to go back to. You kick yourself in the ass. You miss all the clients that are knocking down at your door, trying to be represented by you, and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. That's just basically it. That's common sense. You guys are in power to pass laws, not in power to pocket the money and avoid the laws and avoid the crimes. That's negligence with malice, or with malice. Okay? With the intent to continue on inciting a secret war with a secret society. Continue on. It sounds nuts, but boy, I am nuts. Look at me, look at me. Aluminum tinfoil hat. Man, I am nuts, right? Schizo, I'm schizo. All right, going to continue on down this road here. We're going to go back and kicking the can down the road. Here we go again. Now we go into, we had the Moscow Signal, Henry Kissinger. Then we had Dennis Kucinich. No, we had President Clinton, then Dennis Kucinich. Now we have who? Who comes into play? The Joe Biden and Barack Obama Inc. lawyer law firm of the United States of America. Barack Obama and Joe Biden Inc., the law firm of the United States of America, gets voted in as lawyers, as a firm. You have more of a duty to the American people as lawyers. You went to law school. You have a jurisprudence degree to protect the lives of the American people and uphold the Constitution. So that way no one is killed in a silent war. Do you or don't you? Lawyers, the two lawyers. Two lawyers. Okay, that's big time. You have a vice president that's a lawyer, and you have a president that's a lawyer. It's a firm, okay? Swore to uphold the laws and welfare of the American people. So we get President Joe Biden and Barack Obama in office. And Joe Biden knew already. He knew about microchipping Americans. He knew about it. He was loving it. He was watching the government microchip my ass. Oh boy, look how fun it is. I can steal his thoughts, read his mind. I know where he's at. It's just going to be a fun game. It's the mark of the devil. I mean, he knew about this stuff. Joe Biden knew about implants in Americans. And with implants, once you're implanted, you're being tracked by a satellite. Okay, you're being a slave in involuntary servitude. That's basically what it is. Joe Biden knew about these war crimes a long time ago. But they kicked the can down the road. Joe Biden was set up to continue on microchipping people and to continue on beating and killing Americans. Tyranny. Tyranny, tyranny. 100% tyranny and fraud. Joe Biden knew about microchipping Americans before he even became president.
Our constitutional journey did not stop then, and it must not stop now, Judge. And we'll be faced with equally consequential decisions in the 21st century. Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over. Can brain scans be used to determine whether a person is inclined toward criminality or violent behavior? You will rule on that. And, Judge, I need to know whether you will be a justice who believes that the constitutional journey must continue to speak to these consequential decisions, or that we've gone far enough in protecting against government intrusion into our autonomy, into the most personal decisions we make. Judge, that's why this is a critical moment. There are elected officials in this government, such as Mr. DeLay, a fine, honorable, patriotic man, and others, who have been unsuccessful at implementing their agenda in the elected branches. So they've now poured their energies, as the left would if it were different, they've now poured their energies and resources into trying to change the court's view of the Constitution.
Trying to change the court's view on this subject. It's not okay. Okay, we have to fall back on the Constitution. What does the Constitution say? If you're going to spy on someone, microchip someone, or bug someone, you have to have a warrant. You have to have oath or affirmation signed by a judge saying, my name is Judge John Doe. My name is John Doe. This is a warrant. My name is John Doe. My name is John Doe. This is a warrant. I'm going to spy on brain. I'm going to spy on the brain, collect thoughts, and store data for the rest of his life, so help me God. There has to be a warrant that particularly describes what you're going to be searching. One, his brain, particularly describing the thoughts that come out of his brain. You're going to be collecting the data, and where you're going to store the data for the rest of his life. They don't have that. The warrant has to describe that you're going to be searching the brain, collecting the data, collecting the thoughts, and where his bouts for the rest of his life, so help me God. If you don't have that, It is no good. It's called fruit from the poisonous tree. You get me so far? Where's the warrant? Where's the warrant? Where's the warrant at? Give me the warrant. Let me see the warrant, please. Can somebody see me the warrant? So Joe Biden knew about this a long time ago. Okay? And then you had President Barack Obama who took testimony. He said, okay, let's have a hearing. Let's have a hearing. We're going to testify. Some people will testify on what's going on. Let me find out what's going on, who's being hurt, who's not being hurt. He took testimony. He took testimony of Americans that were dying and being tortured. Right? He did. He took testimony of Americans that were being targeted and tortured. He took testimony. President Barack Obama took testimony of Americans being targeted and tortured. Here's a testimony of Connie Marshall, a mayor candidate that was targeted and tortured, sexually assaulted. And I want you to hear her story. You ready? Here we go. This is addressed to President Barack Obama and the Joe Biden Inc. law firm of America. You can't make it up.
Anybody or any device.
As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to
determine them to stop this painful torture and leave me alone so I can go back to my life. Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. John Hall. My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DOD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be...
It is taken out of the lab and into the homes. Taken out of the labs and into the homes where it's remotely used in the neighborhoods. Gang stalking, human trafficking, torture, treason, sabotage, and the list of federal criminal laws go on. It's taken out of the lab into the homes, into the neighbor's home right here, into the neighbor's homes, into the neighbor's homes, into the neighbor's homes, right? To attack veterans and attack Americans. While they line their pockets up by Big Pharma, the VA, private contractors, criminals that are trying to take you out to cash in on your policy. It's all set up, man. You cash in on the policy and you go back and you set up the member of the family is going to get the policy on a bribe. That's what you're doing. That's what you're basically doing. Life insurance ain't worth the shit anymore. It's no good. Not in this war game. Hell no. I wouldn't have life insurance policies. As a matter of fact, if I had a life insurance policy today, I would cash it and get the fuck out of the United States. I would go away. I would. I'd go away for a little while until you stop your war crimes. Connie Marshall was a mayor candidate. She's victimized by silent weapons. This is Connie Marshall telling President Barack Obama.
Mrs. Marshall.
Good afternoon. My name is Connie Marshall. I'm a former mayoral candidate from Louisville, Kentucky. I have never been involved in any criminal activity. I found a document in my bank account that said, problem with Kentucky government, check federal government paperwork and file before releasing information to anyone. I am an 8-year victim survivor of assaults by directed energy weapons. The torture I've experienced consists of body overheating, body extremely cold, seizures, heart pain, earaches, itching behind eyes, burning behind eyes, swelling, headaches, involuntary movement of my limbs, exhaustion, speeding and heart racing, hair coming out by the handfuls as if I've had chemotherapy, mind paralysis, being hypnotized or placed in a trance-type state, being tracked by a drone or satellite, controlled dreams, sleep deprivation, V2K, which is voice to skull, projected sound, extreme muscle spasms, and extreme muscle cramps, being made to fall down, blue circles around the pupils of my eyes, and I'm here and you can look at them if you like. Low frequency noises in my home, high frequency noises in my home, sexual stimulation. Numerous electrical appliances in my home are destroyed. 4 computers, 2 fax machines, 7 telephones, 4 CD players, VCR, DVD players, electrical igniter switch on my furnace, washer and dryer, air conditioner. Also my car radio, CD player, and engine were destroyed. I am watched in my home 24 hours a day and followed around everywhere I go, though I do not have a criminal history. When I ran for mayor of my town, I was also attacked at debates and forums. My website is www.justiceforallcitizens.com. Thank you. And I would like to leave these flyers with you all as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, these are people with legit complaints. Dr. John Hall, who you heard, is from my hometown. He's a targeted individual. He supersedes my complaint because he is a medical doctor. He has extensive education in medicine. He's an anesthesiologist. He knows about pain. He knows what artificial pain is. He knows what attack from a satellite is. Okay? Connie Marshall is a mayor candidate, an American citizen that was victimized. Okay? Got me so far. Now, here's the outcome of what President Barack Obama and the Joe Biden administration failed to do. They neglected to write laws, pass an executive order. They kicked the can down the fucking road. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Okay, here we go. These are lawyers. Broken promises. Oh, we promised a task force. We promised that if you're going through a scientific experiment, you'll be treated with respect and fairness. When is that going to happen? When is that going to happen? When is that going to happen? Americans are dying. When is that going to happen? When is that going to happen? Big promises, broken promises.
Biggest violations of medical ethics ever perpetrated on U.S. citizens. This week, medical experts and others are meeting to make sure something like this never happens again. And leading that effort is Amy Gutmann. She heads the Presidential Commission for the Study of Bioethical Issues, and she is also the president of the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Gutmann, thanks for being with us. This is not a single incident. We've actually had many of these things happen. What is the purpose of your commission? Are we worried that these types of things are still happening today?
Allie, we can't know whether these things are happening today unless we have a fact-finding mission, and that's what President Obama has asked the Presidential Commission on Bioethics to do, to actually meet with experts and ask them, what is it today that would prevent these things from happening again? They've happened too many times in our history, and we want to make sure, and the president wants to make sure, that we can assure the American public that if they are part of a scientific experiment or a medical experiment, they will be treated with respect and fairly. So we don't know right now how the United States is relative to the rest of the world, and that's why the president has asked me to convene an international task force of experts. And those experts are going to sit down with me, and we're going to actually discuss how different countries and the United States fare in this regard. And we should come up with a report by year's end that can inform the public as well as the president of where we stand.
Okay, we know you're having more hearings in May. We'll follow Pennsylvania.
It's happened too many times. It's happened too many times, she said. And we're going to have a conclusion before Obama leaves office to inform the public. We're going to gather experts. We're going to come to a conclusion. And what their conclusion was, you know, the sad thing about Obama is that the taxpayer paid for his law school. The taxpayer paid for his mansion. The taxpayer is paying for his private security, the Secret Service. And all the taxpayer asked for is a signed document. No more guinea pigs. Obama. All we asked for is a simple sheet of paper. No more guinea pigs. Obama. Where's Obama? Where's Obama now? Where's Amy Gutman now? Your answer to what Obama promised was that the hell with the American people. Continue on with the war. We're not helping you. Kill them all. Kill them all. Obama's answer is not a good answer. Continue on with the war. We're not helping you. Continue on killing Americans. We're not helping you. And you voted for this guy. If you're a Democrat, you voted for this guy. You're guilty of your killing, of your own killing. If you're dead today and you voted Democrat for Obama, thank him very much. If you're dead today and you voted for Obama, you can thank him for your death. Read it. Here we go, kicking the can down the road again to the next president, right? Broken promises, and then they denied the right an executive order. Why? Why? Because he's lined up with the tech giants. He's invested in the war machine. He's invested in the tech giants who are killing Americans. Elon Musk is a criminal. You ask Elon Musk a couple of things. Hey, are you spying on Americans? If he admits that, he's done. Hey, have you weaponized social media? Do you have drones or do you have satellites that are weaponized? And if he answers those questions truthfully, yes, he's an adversary. He's a terrorist. He belongs in prison for a long time. Because each and individual American deserves a warrant. They deserve due process of the law. They deserve oath for affirmation. And if he doesn't have that, he's in violation of criminal laws, and he should be in prison for violation of criminal laws of the United States Constitution and the Geneva Convention and the Nuremberg Code. We're not test subjects. I'm not your science project. I don't consent to your bullshit. Never have and never will. Here we go, kicking the can down the road. So, like I said, all we've done for 72 years is kick the can down the road. And now we have whistleblowers who've been blowing the whistle for 72 years. This is a 72-year silent war. And you had nothing but whistleblowers that have been blowing the whistle, getting paid millions of dollars to blow the whistle on the government crimes, which it seems like a racket. I mean, what's the biggest payout let's see, the biggest whistleblowing payout The biggest whistleblowing payout, the biggest whistleblowing payout was $279 million by the SEC. By the SEC. There's the SEC. SEC Division Enforcement. Okay. Now you have Apple blocking my time. I mean, it seems like a monopoly. It seems like a racket. $279 million to one whistleblower? Work for the government? What are the whistleblowers saying? Well, the whistleblowers are telling the truth. Okay? The whistleblowers are telling the truth, right? Here's a whistleblower. Here's a whistleblower telling the truth.
Victims or targeted individuals, as they're called, found commonalities of all their stories. And I've spoken to with the head of the LA FBI to the Senate, going on for quite
in 2020.
Meet Dr. Robert Duncan, the CIA whistleblower.
To direct energy exposure by the same.
That's Dr. Lindbeer, who's a targeted doctor, endocrinologist. But look, hear the testimony of the whistleblower.
Yes.
Right there, CIA whistleblower Robert Duncan.
So, I have an Ivy League background, education, and I've been studying and human rights activism for what is now currently termed Havana syndrome. But this has been going on for quite some time. I worked for DARPA on projects for the CIA, for the Navy, for example, wrote the Artificial Intelligence Code, tracked the Soviet nuclear submarine fleet. But about 20 years ago, I realized some of my research was being utilized on my own citizens.
What did he say?
And that
Wait a minute, you said what?
About 20 years ago, I realized some of my research was being utilized on my own citizens.
Are you kidding me?
And that was unacceptable.
One more time.
About 20 years ago, I realized some of my research was being utilized on my own citizens. And that was unacceptable to me. And since then, I've done hundreds of interviews, interviewed 2,500 victims or targeted individuals, as they're called, found commonalities of all their stories. And I've spoken to with the head of the LA FBI, to the Senate Intelligence Committee, 23 senators and representatives, with some interest. And I said, just wait when it starts happening to their agents, diplomats, and the FBI. So interestingly, a story came out yesterday that it's happening to the FBI now.
What is your educational background?
That is CIA operative Robert Duncan, who blew the whistle on the CIA. Now, the thing is that President Bill Clinton, if you remember, when I go back in my notes here, and, if I can remember, because I'm just trying to go along here. But like I said, I got schizophrenic, man, and I'm constantly being attacked every day, man, by my government. They're attacking me constantly. And it'll come out of the work, but people are watching the idiots. They're blowing the whistle, and the idiots watching me. They're watching me at the Fusion Center, but the whistleblowers are right behind them taking notes. They want that big payout. So President Bill Clinton promised us there would never be another committee to investigate test subjects, right? He promised that, right? There should never be another committee to investigate test subjects. That was what he said.
The committee's work is to mean anything. It has to be that 50 years from now, there does not have to be another presidential committee charged with investigating allegations of abuses of human subjects. There should never be another such advisory committee.
I'll tell you what, had he written an executive order, had he written an executive order, those fusion centers, these neighbors would not be around. They would not be around. It wouldn't exist. But they've been neglecting to pass laws, president after president. Now let's take a look at the committee who investigated silent weapons and abuse against Americans. Let's look at the committee that did that, right? There was a committee last year that came up and says, yes, we do admit that there are weapons that are causing people to become crazy. And there were 3 whistleblowers, right, that testified. How much did they get paid? $149 million? That was an Army colonel. This is the Army colonel that testified. Did he get $149 million for blowing the whistle? Where's the body bags at? How about the file cabinets?
They were used. Guys, if your assessments here are correct, these are very covert weapons, aren't they? They don't leave behind bomb fragments, bullet holes, etc. They could absolutely be used by our adversaries and have very low levels of, very easy to deny that they were even there, that they were used. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things, especially on the low duration the low intensity, long duration hits.
But
At the low intensity, long duration hits. This is an Apple iPhone. This is an Apple iPhone. This is an Apple iPhone. Okay, got it? And it has apps. It has phone apps. It has phone apps. You get an app, you download it. And in this app, I have one is called Decimal X. You can do this too. Go in here and tap in your location first. Tap in your location. Tap in your location. Tap in location. Tap in location. There's my locations on. So go back into your app and use your app, which is right here, this one right here. Tap into that. It opens up. He said at the long duration, low intensity. That's a constant blue line. It's not going to stop. Because the weapon's dialed into me, it's coming from this window. It's coming from that window over there. That satellite is positioned out that window, dialed into me to attack me. Okay? It's coming from, it's aligned with that window. Okay? Now I'm going to give you a couple of tests here. At the long duration, I've been targeted for a long time. Long duration, low intensity. You're attacking my brain, attacking my body, causing me to become hypochondriac, diminishing my health, diminishing my life. Ready? Here we go. It spiked, right? When I'm done talking, there should be no noise. You hear the chimes in the background?